All right, it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. I'm Veronica Dan Ikboy, and this morning I have Theophilus Ilama joining me on set. Theophilus, it's good to have you.
Yeah,
During the weekday.
it's been quite a long time I've been on set on a weekday, but it's good to be here this morning.
Right. Let's say that we have an array of issues that we will be looking at this morning, from the Lagos Tribunal ruling on the governorship election to also the reactions from the PDP candidates to that ruling, as well as the Independence Day celebration. And then we'll be looking at the newspaper headlines this morning. And we'll also look at other conversations, the plans that the government has with regards to taking 14 million out-of-school children off the streets and, enabling them to be able to be responsible persons in the society. But first, let's begin with the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which has unanimously affirmed that Babajide Sanwo-Olu is the duly elected governor in the March the 18th election, dismissing the petitions of Gbadebo, road survivor of the Labour Party, and the People's Democratic Party candidate Olajide Adediran for lacking in merit. The tribunal held that the petitioner focused on only one ground, which is that Mr. Hamzat took an oath of allegiance in the U.S. to renounce his Nigerian citizenship, rendering him ineligible to run for a political position in Nigeria. The justices declared that since he was a Nigerian citizen by birth, his American nationalization doesn't extinguish his rights to run for office in line with sections 76, subsection 1, and 28 of the amended 1999 Constitution. Now, in the second petition, Justice Mikhail Abdullahi found the petition of Olajide Adediran of the PDP lacking in merit and dead on arrival. Meanwhile, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commended the verdict of the Lagos State Election Petition Tribunal, saying it signifies more work. The governor said this while speaking with journalists at the Lagos House Ikeja on Monday.
As it is right now, Mr. Deputy and I feel too very privileged and want to thank all Lagosians, for staying with us, for even the very first set of congratulatory messages that were gotten. But for us, it's a victory for all, right? We do not want to come out here and say that somebody had lost or somebody had won. All of us, in the journey of a political trajectory like this, I imagine there are no winners, there are no losers. I still want to give an opportunity, like we did on the night in which we were declared winners, to still give an opportunity to all of the candidates, that contested with us, that if they feel, the passion that we have, and if they feel truly, really committed to serve, we could still sit with them and see in what way they want to serve the state. The state is big, the challenges are real, and the opportunities are boundless.
Now, the People's Democratic Party, in its reaction, urged its dedicated supporters to remain calm and abstain from any activity that may disrupt the peace of the state. According to the statement released by the party's publicity secretary in the state, Hakeem Amode, it is committed to undertaking a review of the judgment upon receipt of the certified true copy and subsequently issued directives to the legal team. Also, the party's candidate, Olajide Adediran, has rejected Monday's judgment that affirmed Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu as validly elected during the election on March the 18th. In a statement right after the judgment, he expressed displeasure over the ruling of the Justice Arum Ashram-led panel and says the judgment is not in conformity with the 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act 2022. And vowed that the Lagos State chapter of the PDP will study the judgment and decide on its next line of action. Of course, There are those who would say that this reaction is expected, Theophilus, from the PDP. We haven't heard much from the Labour Party with regards to the reaction to this judgment. But I like the fact that the Lagos State Governor is saying that if these persons are willing and ready, so to speak, to serve as they have been speaking, because the essence is for them to serve the people. The essence
is service.
Yes, so they can perhaps join hands with government now that there is a ruling affirming the governor's election. They can join hands with the government to make the state a better place.
So, Veronica, what you're saying is the expected. But you see, what we're also expecting is for them to go to the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. Many of them will want to go to the Supreme Court, just like the PDP has said. The Labour Party will definitely most likely come out with its own position today. I'm sure by the end of the day, we'll get a position from the Labour Party. And, excuse me, and it will most likely states that they are going to the Supreme Court. But this is what we have seen every time when we go to Presidential Election Petition Tribunal to sort our case out, because many of these parties have lost trusts in the electoral umpire. And so once they lose elections, they go to the courts.
Well, constitutionally, they have that right to challenge the
Definitely.
Right.
But if you're going to the court, bring cases that are foolproof.
Watertight.
Watertight, yes. Don't bring... There's been... how do I put it now? In the court, in several elections and tribunals that we have covered and seen, the same cases come up, the same issues come up, pre-election matters, candidacies, rights to contest for election, and all of that. All of these things come up every time, and we have a precedent in the courts where you see that the courts have consistently thrown out these cases. So if you're coming to court for me, just come with a watertight case, something that can, when everybody sees, they say, no, this can actually go. Even the judges will affirm that this can go. But if you're coming with a party affair, a case that's supposed to come up before the elections, then it means that you're just...
My concern is, yes, constitutionally, this can be challenged in court, the outcomes of election, but our electoral process, our democracy, we having to rely on the courts to determine who actually won an election at the end of the day means that we still have a long way to go.
A whole long way
to go,
yes.
There's so much that has to do with reforms that has to be brought into into our electoral processes, and because these are some of the issues that make Nigerians lose faith in the process when they tell you, voter apathy, why should I even come out and vote? When the courts will determine at the end of the day who really won the election, who did not win, this, that. But then again, it's good to see the courts, stamping their authority, but we must also look inwards as a people, look into our processes. Where do we need to tie up loose ends? Like we see, all of our electoral acts have been a reflection of improvements over the years with regards to
those
elections.
Improvements will still come.
Yes, we are hoping that the
will
next cycle of election we would have seen some level of improvement again after now that we are seeing some of the issues being put forward in court. Can our processes address them as against we going to the courts to, resolve them? If we can get that done, I believe that a lot of persons will trust the process.
The process.
Will trust the electoral process, and we will see much more participation, especially from young persons with regards to our elections. Hopefully, we'll see that in the coming days.
Hopefully, and I hopefully want to see a situation where once a winner is declared, everybody just congratulates that person and go on, because it's all about service, it's all about national interests, the interest of the state, development in the state. So if anybody wants to see development and genuinely wants the development in a state or in a nation, we have to all come together to ensure that we push for that.
Absolutely. Now the Lagos State Governor has said that it's time for work. Oh, a lot of persons are saying now it's time for him to focus on work, even though we know that he might still get distracted, whatever the other parties, talking about Labour Party and PDP, decides as it is. And then because there are so many issues to be dealt with in the state, especially the state of the roads as it is. So we are hoping that he will focus now on some of these issues. I just mentioned one out of many.
Several issues.
So, because if you listen to a lot of persons, the state of the roads, especially with the rainy season, is a major concern for some persons, how it is that plying some of these routes have become a huge challenge. So we hope that the Lagos State Governor will focus now on governance as it is, now that this case is sorted.
Just one
and then
another.
We'll hope to see how things are resolved in the coming days. So